Welcome to CP Voice. My guest today is an acclaimed Christian singer who regularly speaks at women's conferences around the world. Here to share with us her amazing journey through loss, love and faith, and to speak about her latest album, Sunny Days, it's the lovely Tammy Trent. Tammy, welcome to the Big Apple.
Thank you so much. I love being here. I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Now your album, it's your 6th studio album and it's had rave reviews. Did you always know that you were going to be a singer?
You know, I always knew that I wanted to be a singer.
Right.
I mean, I think Amy Grant was the first concert I ever saw when I was like 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I was mesmerized. And I think the way that concert affected me, I thought, can you imagine if one day I could maybe have the effect, that same effect on some little girl that's sitting in an audience,
Right.
just offering her a different message, a different kind of hope through the music. And so I definitely went on a path of music when I was little.
Wow, I love that. As I mentioned in the intro, you've had an amazing journey. Yeah. So going back to 2001, 9/11, you know, the country's focused on these awful terrorist attacks. But you were suffering a more personal tragedy, in a sense. I mean, you lost your husband in a diving accident.
Yeah.
How did that incident affect your faith?
Gosh, it affected everything in my life. We met in my youth group when we were 15 years old, dated 7.5 years, and were married for 11 amazing years.
Oh, wow.
I was a girl that knew love consistently, faithfully, in such a pure way. He was crazy, fun, adventurous, and he loved God big. And I had that surrounding my life since I was 15 years old. And, you know, I got into music and he began to travel with me and manage me. So we were traveling in ministry full-time together.
Wow.
For a number of years. And, you know, those feelings where you just think it can't get any better than this. You know, I mean, I was that girl. And yet it was like any other marriage. I mean, we had to work at it. But I always looked to him and thought, you know, you're the reason we're strong.
Really?
You're the reason we're doing well. Because he was just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, here I was in the middle of all of that, and even questioning God of what's the next season for my life? What are we to do? I mean, we've been married 11 years. Is it having a family? You know, all those questions you have. And I remember taking off to Jamaica, a foreign country, and feeling like God was up to something. Something was going to happen in my life.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what it was. And I was standing on the edge of the water, waving goodbye to the love of my life. And
He was preparing to dive?
He was preparing to dive at the Blue Lagoon, said he'd be gone for 15 minutes. And so I waved goodbye thinking I would see him in 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes and after 30 into 45, realizing that something was desperately wrong, I'm standing on the edge of the water, coming to terms with the fact even that quickly that my life would never be the same again. And I think my faith was shaken to the core. The series of events that happened after that were unimaginable, the most pain I've ever felt, trusting God when nothing makes sense. Everything was shaken in my life. Everything that I thought I had planned out changed in that moment's time.
Of course.
And that's been my journey back to life, back to hope, ever since that day standing on the edge of the water when I lost what I thought was everything.
Of course. You know, more than a decade later, you're still standing, you're strong, you've healed, obviously through faith.
Yeah.
Have you been open to finding love again, and have you ever maybe felt guilty for being, you know, for being open to that?
No, I haven't. I mean, I think I've been brave enough to give myself permission to journey through all of this. I mean, I think early on there was no absolute way I was even interested in that.
Of course, yeah.
I felt love so big in my relationship, in my marriage. It's kind of like all those different empty cups we have in our lives, you know, and that cup for me of love was so rich and so full. So I put it on my mantle, and I've got all these other cups in my life, and some of them are half full, some of them are absolutely empty. And so I looked at the empty ones and thought, this is what I need to focus on.
Yes.
This is what I've got to make right. This is what I've got to make better in my life. And so early on, I just had no interest, and I think that's because my cup of love felt so full. You know, a few years into it, gosh, probably, I think it took me probably 6 or 7 years.
Yes.
I finally said, I'm open to a relationship, and I began to date this guy for about 6 months.
Oh,
and,
wow.
you know, it wasn't a forever thing. I knew that it wasn't forever. And I just realized during that time, it was a God-appointed time. It was a season for me, and I learned through that season that I could love again.
Yes.
That when it's the right thing, I could love again.
And that is so important after all that kind of pain, you know, to know that, you know, life does go on. You can find
Absolutely.
happiness again.
And I wasn't stuck.
Yes.
That was huge for me. You know, because I wonder if people thought, oh, poor Tammy, she's not moving on. You know, because sometimes the resolution in a situation like this is to find love again. She has to find love again. And people think that's it. But for me, getting up on the stage stage, you know, I was touring with this group Revolve at the time, tour for teen girls, 12 to 18 years old, and I had 10,000 girls sitting in there, and I have a chance to speak into their lives and tell them that God defines your life, that your worth and your value is in who you are in Christ and who He made you to be, not that boy that you think is at home and texting you now and, you know, broke up with you yesterday and you think your world is shattered. And, you know, it's important to be that kind of role model to speak into their lives. So I took my pain and I've allowed God to do some hopefully great things with it.
Oh, I love that. As I mentioned earlier, your album Sunny Days has had rave reviews. I love the title. Can you elaborate on how you came up with it?
Yeah, you know, I remember sitting in my office and I just wrote the words Sunny Days, and I put it on a sticky note and I stuck it on my computer. And it sat there for about 2 years.
Oh, gosh.
And the feeling that I had when I wrote it is I want to get to a place in my life where I'm grateful that the storm is at an end, that we can actually say, man, I've walked through the fire, I've gone through it, but God, in this moment, I am grateful that this storm is at an end. And because of that, I'm walking into a new season. I'm embracing something new in my life. Sunny day is the way the sun shines on my face, the way it makes me feel. And you know that feeling when you're in a convertible and you're, you know, California and the wind is blowing in your hair and you're just like, life is good in this moment. And that's what I wanted to feel, and I knew I could get there. So I think sometimes writing those little nuggets, those little sticky notes, remind us of God's promises for us. That was my promise, that one day I would get there, and I wanted to title my next album Sunny Days. So I hung on to it till I began to work on a new album, and that became the title of the record.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I love that. In your 2006 book, Learning to Breathe Again, Choosing Life and Finding Hope After a Shattering Loss, in your opinion, is choosing life the key to maybe living a happy and fulfilled life?
That's a great question. I think every choice we make dictates our day, dictates our future, our destiny. It's all about choices. And for me, I think it's still one of those choices 13 years later to get up and choose life and to choose hope and to choose peace and the joy that you can genuinely feel. Like, we might not always be happy. But joy and happiness are two totally different things. So choosing joy, choosing happiness, choosing those things changes everything. And it's not an easy thing to do. But I do believe it's a series and a set of choices in our lives that change everything for tomorrow. So yes, for me, I still have to get up every day and say, even in the pain, even in the loneliness that I feel right now, even though I still hate what's happened in my life, God, I choose you, and I choose to believe, and I choose to trust, and I choose hope.
Yes.
You know, all of those things. My world has been shaken, and I still feel 13 years later like, gosh, I wish I could change it all.
Of course,
But I can't. But what I can change is what I have now in my life. And those are my choices, to keep choosing Jesus.
I love that, Tammy. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. It's been really a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Again, the album is Sunny Days, and it's available today on iTunes. For more information, please email us, cpvoice@christianpost.com, and we hope to see you again next time. Throughout my time with Tammy, I was moved and inspired by her bravery and her strength. Her passion for life and her commitment to spreading the gospel after having experienced such a tragic loss demonstrates her love for Christ. I really admire her dedication to supporting women, and I believe that her story will uplift and encourage other people.